Welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Rafael Sanchez with RTV6. I'm joined with Kimball Richardson with Community Health. He's a licensed mental health counselor. You know, after what happened yesterday on the city's northeast side with the death of Susan Jordan, the teacher, the educator, the principal, much beloved in that community, we wanted to talk to you about how to talk to children about death and tragedy, because many parents have been talking to us on Facebook about how do we have that difficult conversation. So if I have a 6-year-old that attended that school, or a cousin or a friend who knows someone that attended that school, how do I start that conversation, Kimberly?
Well, first of all, be a good listener. Don't go into it and feel like you have to give your child lots of advice and be overwhelming, because your child probably feels overwhelmed initially. So be a good listener, step back and see what the child is talking about. If they're bringing it up, then it's okay to discuss it. Try to get a sense of maybe what the child might be feeling emotionally. It could be fear, it could be anger, frustration, why did this happen, kind of thing.
So that I listen, so then how do I start that conversation? Because I'm going to imagine as a parent, it's difficult as a 40-year-old to deal with death. If I have a 6-year-old, how do I approach it? What steps do I take? Do I just say, hey, something bad happened at your school, let me just talk about it? Or how do I start that conversation?
Tell me about your day. Tell me about your day today. What happened? Listen, and then listen for themes. It sounds like you're feeling afraid. It sounds like you're feeling angry. And you can name those emotions. Sometimes children without small don't often know the names of emotions. So you might have to say it for them. And then certainly don't make a judgment about it.
So give me an example.
Okay,
so as a parent, right, I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
I want to rush in and just scoop on in as Papa Eagle and save my kid. How do I not rush in and let that child speak and communicate?
One of the really common mistakes that parents make will say, "You shouldn't feel that way," and I think they even will say it with compassion and earnest. You know, basically they're saying, "Please don't feel afraid or sad or angry. I don't like it when my child is overwhelmed. I want to take that away from them if I can," and it's understandable as a parent as well. I know what they're talking about, but remember that we're not trying to judge feelings. We're trying to let the emotions come out, normalize them, to say it's normal to feel afraid, it's normal to feel frustrated or angry in a situation like this. I do too. We'll get through this together.
And does the conversation change if I have a 6-year-old versus a 10-year-old? And how do I change that? Because those are two different, from a first grader to a fifth grader.
Right.
What a difference. So how do I change my technique if my kid is 5?
Well,
and knows a whole lot more than that first grader.
If your child is 5 versus 10, you can change your language. You can talk a little longer about the subject. You know, a 5-year-old basically just wants to say a few things and then they're off on another subject.
Right.
And then as a parent, you're like, wait a minute, we have to talk about this, at length, and you don't have to.
Okay.
So you listen as long as the child needs. Hopefully offer them lots of hugs and kisses, reassurance that they're safe right now, that you're going to do everything you can do to make them safe, to create that kind of environment. And to, again, let them know these are emotions, they're okay, it's normal.
This is Kimball Richardson. He's with Community Health. He's a licensed mental health counselor. We're talking about how you can talk to your child, how you can talk to a neighbor or friend who's maybe dealing with death in light of what we saw in Indianapolis yesterday with that beloved principal, Susan Jordan. We are watching your comments coming in right now on Facebook Live. We want you to keep on providing these comments. We hope to address them. So if you have a question for Mr. Richardson, he will be more than happy to answer them. And I think, let me see one here. A lot of folks are agreeing with you, saying, to listen. Heidi Marie Harrison says, what if they won't answer like you ask? How was your day? How are you feeling? And they say, I don't know. That's from Heidi Marie Harrison. Heidi, thank you so much for asking that question. So what if your child is not communicative, right? If he doesn't,
That's a really, really good question, because oftentimes, especially children, we have to help them put a label of an emotion to what they're experiencing. All they know is they're feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so it's okay to say you may be feeling overwhelmed, you may be feeling sad, you may be feeling angry. Put a word to it and see if they identify with that. And then if so, again, reassure them it's normal, it's okay, we'll get through this together, so that they're not thinking I'm weird for feeling this way.
what happens, obviously, when something bad happened yesterday.
Yeah.
But as you know, because you do this all the time, the ripple effects can come maybe a week from now, maybe a year from now. So how do I monitor my child? Even after I've had that good conversation, I think it all went well and it was great.
Right.
What do I need to do because it may resurface? I mean, some kids are going to get back on buses
Yes.
tomorrow, right? So it doesn't end.
Yes. This isn't a one conversation and you're done kind of a
So
situation.
this is an ongoing
It's
process.
ongoing. Especially, I think what parents might notice is that children revert back to earlier age behaviors. They might be a little more clingy. They might want to sit next to you or get some more hugs or sleep with the lights on or talk about accidents. You know, especially in younger children, I'd say 5 and younger, you'll see this come out in their play a little bit more than you would have.
We're hearing from John Robertson. He says you have to be honest and direct with your kids. My kids know that it can be a bad world out there. And if you're wondering why I'm getting closer to the camera, I'm trying to read your comments to make sure that Mr. Richardson can read them. But John Robertson is saying, of course, that you have to be honest. You can't hide the truth.
Right.
You shouldn't say nothing happened.
I think he's
Is
exactly
that the worst
right.
thing you can do? Say nothing happened?
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, to deny the truth. You want to share the facts as you know them. Of course, you don't need to share any grisly details with children. That's not appropriate. But I think if you can use words like "she died," she's dead. You don't want to say, you don't. Depending on the age of the child, some children don't understand. She passed
So
away.
let me ask you this question, because this question is a good one from Sean Ryan McCarthy. He says, maybe grief counseling isn't really necessary because the students may not be as close to the principal as they may be to their individual teacher. So do you want to make sure you keep it in check?
Yeah.
What if that child doesn't really have a connection?
That's okay too. Yeah.
So can we do bad by overemphasizing something? In other words, as a parent, we want
Yeah.
to be Papa Bear.
Well, an interesting little fact to know is that although you can't technically catch a mental illness from someone, you can transfer anxiety. So children can learn to be anxious from watching their parents be anxious. So you want, if you're feeling upset and concerned, you want to make sure as a parent you're getting your own support and help too.
Yeah, Dawn Nicole Smithhart says kids are smarter than some adults give them credit for. In
Yeah.
some cases, right? So some kids can really adapt and deal and...
Well, I want to address that. I think she's exactly right. But also, when children are overwhelmed in feeling, experience a traumatic situation, it is difficult to process information. And sometimes your concentration levels decrease. You kind of shut down and slow down as well.
What about the adults? We saw the teachers yesterday, the staff, after the tragedy, they had a prayer circle. We didn't get to see that, but many of the parents who were picking up their young children talked about how that staff that really loved this educator had a prayer circle in an effort to find comfort. What about the teachers? Because tomorrow they have to get back to what is often used as normal. And I hated using that word yesterday because what is normal after something so tragic? So
Well, it is helpful to get back to a routine. That is helpful. But we do want to make sure that the teachers, the parents, of course the children, are aware that this is something that they can talk about. If they're upset, I know that there'll be counselors on site at the school tomorrow for the teachers as well as for the children. So everybody deserves and needs support.
Jenny Lynn Townsend says, don't you think this is for parents to discuss? We know our children best. But that's the point, right? We want
That's what we're doing.
we
We want
want
the parents to
we want to make sure the parents get engaged.
We want parents to be the ones to talk to children, their own children. Except, I just want to caution that if your child did not go to that school, doesn't watch the news, won't have any connection to this information, there's probably not a need to bring it up.
So tomorrow when kids go back to school tomorrow, I know that the school will have counselors. Lawrence obviously canceled today in honor of Ms. Jordan. What does that day look like? I mean, kids will have to get back on school buses. This is Indiana. Many kids get on school buses.
Yeah.
How do you have that discussion so that the kid says, Mom, Dad, I don't want to get on that school bus?
Yeah. I probably would be okay with parents driving kids to school for a couple of times, but you don't want to make a pattern of that. Eventually the child needs to get back on the bus, and say that literally and figuratively, you know, back to a routine of what happens at school. But also they will be talking a lot about her death and making sure that the kids can discuss it appropriately with the teachers or counselors.
And counselors will be on hand tomorrow there at Amy Beverland Elementary School and throughout the process. I mean, the superintendent made it very clear that whatever the school community, school family needs, that the school will be there for those parents. What language should the adults be using from tomorrow forward? Once will there also be a funeral? So what kind of language, what kind of words should we be using to help the child process?
Yeah. One of the things that parents can do is to say, I'm here for you. If you need an extra hug or if you need anything from me, I'm here to listen. Again, not to be rushing in to say you shouldn't feel this way or these feelings are okay and these aren't. Feelings are just feelings. That's what we try to teach folks at least in the counseling process. We want parents to be the primary supporters of the kids, but for parents to know that they'll also have professionals on.
So you're watching us live here on Facebook Live. I'm Rafael Sanchez with RTV6. Kimball Richardson, he's a licensed mental health counselor with Community Health. If you have any questions, we're watching the discussion there on Facebook, and as you can see, I wear glasses on. You can just squint every once in a while to see what you're talking about. But Leslie Ann Andrews, you ask your child if they want to talk about what happened and they won't talk. Is there any way to try to help them through their feelings? That question is from Leslie Ann Andrews, wants to know, how do you pull it out of your kids? If your kid is that child that is just an individual who doesn't want to talk about it, how do you pull it out?
Well, you may not have to pull it out. You may just create opportunities to say, hey, how are you doing? Are you feeling okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? You might bring it up a few times. If they catch on to it and grab a hold of it and want to discuss it, fine. If they don't, just bring it up a few more times over the next week or so and see how they're doing. But if they say, they don't want to talk about it, if they're okay,
you move on.
You move on.
You know, as you pointed out, what I found interesting, you talked about you don't want to create anxiety. You don't want to make your child worry about something. And really, they're just going about their business.
Yeah.
Coloring their
Some kids will not be affected by what happened, even if they went to that school, and that's okay. You know what I mean? But the other children who are nervous or who actually watch the event, of course, probably the exposure, the amount of exposure you have to a critical incident is pretty predictive of how you're going to respond to it.
Kimball Richardson, I want to thank you so much for having this discussion with us. We want to thank you for joining the discussion on Facebook Live.
Really good questions, too.
We appreciate it. This is really the best part of this interactive part of the we're able to talk to you at home, and you tell us what you want to hear about and what you think. The discussion will continue, of course, on the RTV6 app, and you'll be on the Now Indy at the top of the hour in about 3 minutes. They'll be talking about this as well with Candace Aviles. So we want to thank you for watching on Facebook Live, and I hope to see you much later here on RTV6. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. And keep talking on Facebook. We appreciate that as well. Thanks. So we'll talk about the same thing. Kind of. I mean, with different questions. The other baby, right? And we'll have this time. So we'll have this kind of discussion, and we can have this, and we can monitor and see what else people are asking right now, so that we can have a
I'll write that in a sec. Yes.
We're going to tire roasted chickens.
Okay. Okay. Are going to be fun later.
Well, that's what we were talking about, finding some wire for.
Got it. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that is good. Great. Okay. We begin with new details surrounding the deadly bus crash at Amy Beverlin Elementary. Within the past few hours, Governor Pence ordered flags around Marion County to be flown at half-staff in honor of Susan Jordan. A memorial outside the school is also growing as students, teachers, and parents remember their beloved principal. But let's begin our coverage with the Now's Mike Pelton, who's been digging to get more answers as to what may have caused the crash.